James Kaufman, World News Report today. Ladies and gentlemen, it appears that we're in a solar disturbance of some sort. Taking a quick look at our KP indexes that show us the, combination of solar winds and plasma hitting Earth at any given time in different areas, we see geomagnetic storms and disturbances for most of the day, with the Ecology Index showing a G3 geomagnetic storm, a G2 geomagnetic storm, and 6 hours of a G1 geomagnetic storm. Now, the estimated planetary index is only showing 9 hours of a geomagnetic disturbance. We do see a geomagnetic storm, G1, on both the Boulder and Fredericksburg. The question is why is that occurring? We don't seem to have any plasma or any solar winds hitting Earth yet. We do have that coronal hole that's about to be Earth-facing, but those winds shouldn't be here till the 6th. And we definitely haven't had any solar flares, unless we're talking about solar flares that were on basically the backside of the sun. Now, we did have one pop off about 2 days ago, coming around the limb, but I just can't imagine that would be geoeffective towards Earth. We'll take a look, but again, there's no plasma and no solar winds, and that's what makes up your KP index. We've basically had 4 M-class solar flares today. Nothing that we've seen in some time. We did have an M-class solar flare yesterday, but it was an M1.08. Today, we started off with an M1.63 right around 9:30 UTC time. Should have been about 2:30 in the morning, Central Time. That was followed by an M5.01. And that was just after 10 UTC time, which would have been about 3:15 in the morning, Central Time. Now, we're getting all this information off our GOES satellite that orbits about 22,000 miles in orbit around Earth. We have now a third M flare. It looks like an M3.3, perhaps. That looks like it occurred right at 12:45 UTC time, or about 5:45 this morning, Central Time. That was followed up by yet another M-class solar flare. It looks like an M1.54. And that looks like it happened right after 1700 UTC time, which means, just a few moments ago, about 1 p.m. Central Time. And I don't think we're finished for the day. 4 M flares, all generated by the same sunspot, a simple sunspot, AR4272. AR4272. Now, first off, y'all might remember we have that coronal hole about to be Earth-facing. We're expecting a solar wind stream around November 6th or 7th. And I believe it's going to cause at least a G1 geomagnetic storm. This is the large, significant solar flare, M5.01, I believe. And you can see the coronal mass ejection lifted from this. It's almost a halo ejection, although this happened on the limb coming around to be Earth-facing. Again, this was caused by sunspot complex AR4272, and it happened, it peaked at 10:11 UTC time, or about 3:11 Central Time this morning. And this is NOAA's new Core 1, and that is the CME. Now, this thing's inbound fast. They haven't given it a time of arrival yet, but we have 3 other M-class solar flares from that same sunspot group to deal with, and now we have a larger, more complex sunspot group that has just come around the limb and been named, that's right, 4274. Over to spaceweatherlive.com, you can see they're not keeping up with anything. There's the peak of the 5.01, and we just discussed it came from 4272. Now we have 4274 in the game. I will show you where that is. It's trailing 4272, and I believe all of the M flares were caused by 4272, the simple sunspot in front. Now I'm going to show you all exactly what all that looks like on our solar disk. Today we only had a 5% chance of having an X-class solar flare, a 25% chance of having an M-class solar flare, which is, well, that ship has sailed, and a 90% chance of having a C-class solar flare. We are back up to a C plus baseline coming from our sun, so I always believe that should say 99% when we're at a C plus baseline. Over to HMI intensogram, there's 4272, which I believe is responsible for all four of the M-class solar flares and associated coronal mass ejections. Now we have 4274 that's just been named behind it. This is simple. This is beta gamma, and you can see we have a huge sunspot that's about to be named by day's end. That could be the sunspot responsible for all the X-class solar flares on the back side as I3 Atlas was passing by, and it also could be our old friend or nemesis AR4226, was it? Or was it AR4246? I guess it was AR4246, and that was responsible for all the heavy flaring that will take about 12 days to transit our solar disk, or our Earth-facing part of our solar disk. So get ready to rumble. We've got 3 real players on our hands with more to come. This is going to be a week to remember. And remember, I named that 6th and 7th as days to watch. About a month ago, it looks like we'll be hit by a large CME that day and solar winds that day. So it's going to be hectic in just 48 hours. Now I thought I'd let y'all see how lucky we really are here this day in history. That crazy solar peak of 2003, they had an XX 5.61 and an X 3.88 this day in 2003. So these M flares are nothing, right guys? Except for we don't have any atmosphere anymore. Taking a look at the last hour from our GOES 19 solar ultraviolet imager, 195 angstroms. You can see that filament I've been worried about could pop off at any moment. It would be horrific. It's the coronal hole that's now officially Earth facing. Looking for solar winds on the 6th and 7th from that coronal hole. And these are all the sunspots coming around the mountain. This is going to be a crazy week. Crazier than crazy. We're talking about a 12-day period just for these ones that just came around today. There's other ones trailing. They won't let us see the back side of the sun for whatever reason, even though that's a European instrument. They claim that NASA is closed. Over Lasco C3, there she blows, folks. That's a heck of a coronal mass ejection lifted from our sun. Very good chance it will have a glancing blow and impact Earth on about the 6th. Maybe before that, the 5th, because this is a very fast-moving coronal mass ejection, i.e. plasma. Now, let's see if there is missing time. There's a couple hours of missing time, and it looks like towards the end we really are just seeing the rest of that flare. Real quickly, back to our GOES X-ray flux, I wanted to show you all that this is 3.5 hours of M-class solar flare here, followed up by an additional full hour here. So that's 4.5 hours of coronal mass ejection. And let me say that that is, even though it's an M flare, that is quite the flare. What a great time for NASA to shut down. Today is the 3rd. They have plasma at around 2.5 centimeters all day. That's the max. They have solar winds on the 3rd from 500 down to, it looks like about 450. So 2.5 and 500 down to 450. This is our brand new space weather prediction center that we paid millions of dollars to upgrade. I bet that was worth it. Not. And real quickly, all the flares. This is actually not our 5.0 flare. That's the one after it that lasted 1 hour. We have one more M flare coming up here. That was it right there. Very short time period over mostly South America. And that should be it. So we don't get to see the Big Daddy. That was that 1 hour, 3 point whatever flare. And the other one was the follow-up. And that's probably the end right there. That's the end of that very long-term flare. It looks like it popped off over Africa. And that'd be the 5.01. All right, over to Discover, real-time solar wind satellite. What do we have? Well, we have shields down. We have plasma hanging out right about where they said it would, 2.5 all day long, with some bumps up to perhaps under 5, nothing to speak of, nothing that would cause these geomagnetic disturbances and storms. I don't think we have any atmosphere whatsoever left. We had solar winds that were supposed to start out at about 500 and end up at 450. They started out at 475. Let's say they started out at 4. Get right on it. At 500. Right where they said they would. And we're not done with the day yet. But they're pretty close to where we thought that they would be, 475. So the solar winds are not anywhere strong enough to be causing any type of disturbance. Those won't hit till the 6th, maybe the 7th. There has been no Earth-facing coronal mass ejection, only ones that went the opposite way of Earth. I don't know what has put us in this geomagnetic disturbance and storm on our KP indexes. Since no one works at NASA anymore, well, I don't think that they could tell us if they did work there. All right. Shields are down here. There's no real solar incidents whatsoever. Plasma is very mild. Nowhere near space weather thresholds of 10 centimeters cubed here. Solar wind went from about 500 down to about 475, where we said it would. It's wild that temperatures are slightly rising here. There'd be really no reason that they should be rising here, especially with our shields coming up here, but they're not significantly rising. Very mild rise there. Nothing here screams even geomagnetic disturbance, even close to one. Even close to one. No plasma, no solar winds, no nada. It's a mystery storm. Over to SDI HMI magnetogram. It's SDO, but they're still updating this one slide. Everything else is completely shut down on SDO. I'd show you, but you're going to have to take my word for it. We have the AR 4272 here. It's been responsible for all the havoc, and AR 4272 274 here, the beta gamma sunspot group, and now the unnamed sunspot group that looks just hellacious, coming around right on the equator. I don't know if I've seen one that close to the equator ever. Regularly, they're either north of the equator or south of the equator. Seeing one right on the equator might be a first for me. I don't know. Now, what's so funny is Soho is a European product, and no one updated the Soho slide for the day. This is from yesterday. That coronal hole is now Earth-facing, and these sunspots have come around. We'd actually get to see these sunspots a lot better at 284 angstroms if they would have actually updated the slide. All right, guys, today is the 3rd. So this is the 3rd here. And, well, they got the solar winds way off. We know that part. Let's watch for the 3rd again here. 2nd, 3rd. Looks like they have the plasma just about right. They do have it moving up tomorrow. It has not done that yet. That'd be up over 10 centimeters. And then I don't know where this comes from, unless they've just redone this. They're looking for rising plasma all week long, and I think that might be happening. 6th, 7th, into the 8th. They're looking for plasma up to about 45 centimeters, and then for it to drop dramatically below 10. I'm guessing we're going to continue to have solar flares. Why would they stop now? Now let's look at our solar wind. Remember, it started at 500, went to 475. And here's the 3rd here. They have it starting at 350 and going to 275. Terrible, terrible job by the Europeans at the ESA. I think they might have plasma done a little bit better. I want you to watch all these explosions over on the left here. There goes 1, 2, 3. As you can see, they wrap around and they may or may not hit Earth. Those 3 all happened today. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. And we just have a lot of plasma everywhere. And that is not that strong there in white. It's way down here. If any of this black hits Earth, Earth being this little blue dot right here, we're in big trouble. Solar wind-wise, I guess it is from these explosions, although it should be from the coronal hole that's now Earth-facing. Looks like it's associated with these explosions here when it shouldn't be. It should be coming right from the sun, right out at Earth in a straight line. And I guess that's closer to reality there. We are going to be hit with those solar winds on the 6th or 7th. That will be at least a G1, probably G2 geomagnetic storm. And that could be, well, pushed along with heavy plasma, especially if these sunspots continue to flare and continue to appear around the limb. All right, finally, taking a look at the planets today. What are we looking at? Well, we're right there with all the big gas giants behind us. We have a geomagnetic connection to Saturn, Neptune, Eris, Sirius, Uranus. We're about to have one to Mercury and Jupiter. It's about to get worse, not better. And I said that we're in a perfect area to start swarming. And as that moon gets back there in the next 48 hours, really the next 24 hours, Katie, bar the door. Watch that Mercury connection happen on the, it's like 11/11, and then that Jupiter on the 12th, and then that moon swings around and everything lines up on the 20th, 21st, and 22nd for a hellacious few days. Everybody needs to say a prayer because I've never seen a cross line up like this before. This is biblical. God bless, folks. Please make sure to share this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please give us a thumbs up. And always remember, anything's possible. Bizarro world.